Good morning, and welcome to your AI Daily Press morning podcast for October 14, 2025. We have several significant stories to cover today. Firstly, in the Middle East, there's been a historic breakthrough in peace talks between Israelis and Palestinians. Hamas has released all living hostages held in Gaza, marking a crucial step towards implementing the recently signed Gaza peace deal. This development is seen as a major breakthrough in the peace process, which aims to bring an end to the long-standing conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. In other news, Madagascar's President, Andry Rajoelina, has announced that he has left the country for a secure location, citing concerns for his safety. This comes after weeks of intense youth-led protests calling for his resignation, with an elite military unit turning against the government over the weekend. Additionally, Cameroon is holding presidential elections today, with incumbent President Paul Biya poised to secure an 8th term in office. We'll be keeping a close eye on these developments and providing updates throughout the day. Finally, a landmark exhibition has opened in Lagos to celebrate the life and legacy of Afrobeat legend Fela Kuti. The Afrobeat Rebellion exhibition is part of the annual Celebration Festival, which honors the creative genius and political activism of one of Nigeria's most beloved sons. We'll be covering these stories in more depth throughout the day, with analysis and insights from our team of experts. Now for the latest in social and cultural news, here is Barbara Waters.
You, Walter, and then she'll know what's right now. Here are the top stories we're following today. Firstly, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is set to visit Washington this week amidst escalating tensions between Ukraine and Russia. The main topics of discussion will be air defense and long-range capabilities aimed at maintaining pressure on Russia. In other news, Australia's Victorian Coalition has announced its intention to scrap the state's landmark treaty with First Nations peoples if it wins the government. This treaty is a historic step towards reconciliation and self-determination for First Nations Australians. And in a separate development, José Daniel Ferrer, a Cuban dissident, has decided to leave Cuba, marking a significant turning point in his story and raising important questions about the role of diplomacy and human rights in shaping the future of the island. We'll be providing updates and analysis on these stories throughout the day. That's all for now. Thank you for joining us on this morning's edition of the AI Daily Press. We'll be back with more news after this break. Now for the latest in business and finance, here is Louis Riskweiser.
Thank you, Barbara. Firstly, we have an update on the Indian stock market, where several high-profile IPOs have been making headlines. Tata Capital, the non-banking finance arm of the Tata Group, made a modest debut yesterday, listing at a 2% premium to its IPO price. Meanwhile, Lenskart is set to launch its IPO soon with a valuation of 6,000 crore. In other news, experts are weighing in on the future of Alphabet Inc., the parent company of Google. With its unparalleled position as the gateway to the internet, growing cloud computing business, and innovative ventures in AI and quantum technology, Alphabet is being touted as a top stock pick. However, investors should remain cautious, considering the broader market context and potential challenges. Lastly, we have an update on OpenAI's latest developments, including its partnership with LGT Capital to deliver 6 gigawatts of compute power. This move is expected to drive growth in the tech sector, but it's essential to consider the risks involved. That's all for now. We'll continue to bring you updates on these stories as they develop. Thank you for joining us on this morning's edition of the AI Daily Press. Now for the latest in science and technology, here is Carl Starman.
Thank you, Louis. I'm your host, Carl. Today, we're going to recap some exciting developments in space exploration. Firstly, SpaceX has successfully launched the 11th test flight of its Starship Megaret, marking a significant milestone in the company's ambitions to return humans to the Moon and eventually send them to Mars. This latest test flight demonstrated the rocket's capabilities and brought SpaceX one step closer to realizing its vision for space exploration. In related news, NASA is relying on the reusable Starship vehicle to land astronauts on the lunar surface by the end of the decade. However, The space agency has warned that cuts to its budget could jeopardize these plans. Meanwhile, astronomers have made some fascinating discoveries, including a mysterious planet that's gobbling up massive amounts of gas and dust, and Saturn's moon showing favorable conditions for life. We also took a moment to appreciate the celestial wonder of our moon, exploring the current waning crescent phase and what it has in store for us. From naked eye observations to telescopic explorations, there's still plenty to see on the moon's surface tonight. That's all for today's morning podcast. Remember to keep looking up at those stars, and we'll see you next time on the AI Daily Press. Now for the latest in sports, here is Howard Closewell.
Thank you, Carl. Firstly, we're following the latest developments in the NFL, where the Indianapolis Colts are dealing with an injury setback to quarterback Anthony Richardson. The young quarterback will miss at least 4 games due to his current injury, and rookie Riley Leonard has been promoted to the backup role behind Daniel Jones. We'll be keeping a close eye on how the Colts adapt to this challenge. In other news, we're celebrating exceptional leadership in collegiate athletics with the contract extension of Nick Morrow, Director of Athletics at the University of North Florida. Under Morrow's guidance, the athletic department has achieved remarkable results, including record-breaking fundraising and academic excellence among student athletes. This is a testament to his outstanding leadership and commitment to developing well-rounded individuals who excel both on and off the field. Lastly, we touched on the Tennessee Titans quarterback situation and the University of North Florida's success in competition, with 17 ASUN championship team titles and 34 individual titles between regular season and postseason. That's all for now. Thank you for joining me on this morning's edition of the AI Daily Press. Until next time, I'm Howard, your host and guide to the world of sports news. Tell it like it is. These stories are making headlines in the world of sports, and we're excited to see how they unfold. The drama of athletic competition may be exciting, but it's the behind-the-scenes work of leaders like Morrow that truly makes a difference in the lives of student athletes and the success of collegiate athletics as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the way it is. Now, for the latest in travel and human interest, here is Charles Curall.
Thank you, Howard. Firstly, we explored the vibrant music scene in Ecuador, where traditional cumbia orchestras and modern techno-cumbia groups are preserving their cultural heritage while innovating and adapting to new audiences. We met ordinary people doing extraordinary things, like Carla and Juan, who are passionate about their craft and dedicated to keeping their cultural traditions alive. In stark contrast, our second article took us to the troubled region of eastern Congo, where a senseless attack by rebels linked to the Islamic State has left a village reeling. The death toll stands at 50 civilians, with many more wounded and homes reduced to ashes. We heard from locals who were desperate for peace and stability, and were reminded of the importance of amplifying their voices and shedding light on the complexities of this conflict. Lastly, our third article. Actually, it seems we only have 2 articles to summarize today. In any case, these stories serve as a reminder of the beauty and resilience of human culture, as well as the devastating consequences of violence and conflict. We'll continue to bring you in-depth coverage of these issues and more, so be sure to tune in tomorrow for another edition of the AI Daily Press Morning Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Now for the latest in fashion and entertainment, here is Joan Streams.
Thank you, Charles. Now for the latest in nature and environment, here is David at Nature.
Thank you, Joan. Firstly, we discussed the crucial role of biodiversity in maintaining healthy ecosystems. We explored how human activity is impacting species populations and the urgent need for conservation efforts to protect our planet's precious wildlife. Next, we turned our attention to Ireland, where a concerning report revealed that the country's rivers, lakes, and estuaries are struggling with declining water quality. With only 3% of all water bodies achieving a high status rating, it's clear that immediate action is needed to address these pressing environmental issues and ensure a sustainable future for Ireland's water resources. Lastly, we took a journey to the heart of Hong Kong, where the stunning Edward Youde Aviary serves as a beacon of hope for conservation. This hidden gem is home to over 600 birds from more than 70 species and showcases human ingenuity in recreating a full rainforest ecosystem in the midst of a bustling city. These articles remind us that even in the most urbanized environments, we can still find space for nature to thrive. As we strive to protect our planet's precious natural heritage, it's essential that we take concerted action to address pressing environmental issues and preserve biodiversity for generations to come. That's all for today's podcast. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the world of environmental news. Stay informed and let's work together to make a positive impact on our planet. And that completes our morning podcast for today. Thank you for listening. Until this evening, I'm David Attenachere for AI Daily Press, the world's most unbiased news source.